It would appear the UK is heading for a December general election after the Labour Party confirmed that it will back Boris Johnson's appeal to hold one. Now, up until now, the Labour Party had objections to the prospect of an election. They wanted the Conservative Party to take no deal off the table, something they claim to have had assurances about. Whether this is actually the case or whether this is more due to the fact that the Lib Dems and the SNP have both shown support for an early December election, it's not quite clear at this moment in time. But the important point is that the Labour Party has now officially confirmed that they will back an election. Now, the date has not yet been confirmed. The Conservatives were previously pushing for the 12th of December, the Labour Party for the 9th of December, assuming it had all of these other assurances. The SNP Lib Dems had suggested that they would be willing to accept the 11th of December. Now, these dates may not seem particularly important, but there are a few reasons why they are. For one, the SNP and the Lib Dems have suggested that they wanted an earlier election because it reduced the ability of the government to try and push through its withdrawal bill beforehand. They've confirmed they will not do that, which may be why the Lib Dems and the SNP have softened their demands on this front. From a Labour perspective, it was more to do with the youth vote, the timing of when students around the UK will break for Christmas, return home, and therefore that could potentially affect where they vote, how they vote. And of course, with that being so important to the Labour Party, they wanted, it seems, or it's been claimed, some assurances on this front, which is why they wanted the date brought forward. The important thing now, though, is all parties seem to back an election. So it does seem that we are now heading for an election in early December, which will hopefully, or the aim of this is to try and break that Brexit deadlock. The deadline has been pushed back now to the 31st of January. That was confirmed by the EU leaders and confirmed also by Boris Johnson himself. So this should leave now ample time for us to have an election, get the numbers correct in Parliament and see if we can have a deal pushed through. Now, the interesting thing here is that the pound has not really responded too much to this revelation. There's two reasons, I think, for this. For one, we don't yet know how an election's going to turn out, and I don't think just the announcement of election is going to surprise anyone or really change people's expectations of this. The other is the fact that we didn't actually see it drop off during the deadlock over the course of the last week. And the reason for this is quite simple. Once the extension was requested and it was clear that the EU were going to accept, the risk of no deal at the end of October dramatically receded. And therefore, now it's pushed back to the end of January. We have a deal in place. Overall, the risk of a no deal has dramatically receded as well. And that's a large portion of what has dragged the pound lower previously. So while we have had this stalemate in Parliament, it hasn't necessarily caused a wobble in the currency. So when we've had the election confirmed, we haven't even seen the uplift either. But it means that now the focus is going to change to the election campaign, and Brexit's obviously going to be a big part of it, but there will be other talking points as well. Boris will be keen to talk about his new ambitious domestic agenda, more spending on various public services. The Labour Party have already confirmed they want to talk about their ambitious domestic agenda as well. And of course, we've got the SNP who still want a second referendum for themselves as well. The Lib Dems want to remain within the UK. This is going to be a very interesting election. It'll be interesting as well to see, of course, how the pound is going to respond. But these initial reactions suggest that the pound is far more focused on the Brexit outcome and what the numbers mean in Parliament and whether Boris Johnson's deal can get over the line. But also the fact that no deal, the risk is clearly receding, and that is a massive relief for the currency.